Welcome back, everyone, to Hour 3 of TYT Election Day coverage, where we're joined by Francesca Fiorentini, the host of both Newsbroke, as well as The Bitchuation Room, and Benjamin Dixon, host, of course, of The Benjamin Dixon Show. How's it going, you two?
Going well. Good to be here, man. How you doing? 3 hours, huh?
Yeah, with a lot more to come, of course. All of us, like I'm sure there are many people in our audience who've been watching this entire time, and they're prepping themselves mentally and caffeinely to go the whole day. This is the first that I'm talking to either of you on election day. So tell me, how are you feeling so far based on what you've seen?
I just want to start off by saying I do want to call the election now. I'm gonna call it for Kanye Omari West. He's been cheated and he is absolutely the rightful winner. Give me some of that North Korean sweatshop swag. I wanna look like I'm in a labor camp. No, look, John, I put on a blazer.
You did.
I did some yoga this morning and I'm like, okay, when is the M. Night Shyamalan twist of this election happening? Like, what is it? What is it?
We're so alike, you know. You did yoga. I ate a French toast Grand Slam from Denny's. We're the same person, basically. Ben, how have you girded yourself for the battle to come?
I have just been working, man. I've been up since 7 o'clock this morning with the stream and then the podcast, and then I think I published on the podcast right before I got the call to join in with you all.
Wow.
As soon as I'm done here, I'm going over with Sam Cedar, all of our friends at the Majority Report, and then I'm doing my own coverage till 1 o'clock in the morning. So hopefully I'll be too busy to actually care what happens.
That's a lot of talking. Maybe some tea with honey wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea. But okay, look, in just a little bit, you know, actually, before we jump into it, I do want to read a few super chats because people have been so supportive, and we unfortunately have not had nearly enough time to cover. But I did want to say a few thank yous. A True World Revolution sent us in a super chat saying, "I'm Canadian and get robocalls daily telling me to stay home and not vote." I guess that seems like wasted money from the point of view of the US, but thank you. Let's see, we had HKN over on the main channel with a big super chat, thank you. There was no text, but thank you for the support. Same to Angie Shaw. Let's see, Buddha says, proud to be a progressive, let's go. Exactly. And Verena says, lots of love, Dragon Squad Germany, please America, vote him out. So, we're hoping. Before we get into some of the specifics of your election pools, you know, most of the votes are already in at this point. There's more hours of voting to come. How confident would you say you are in the result at this point? No?
I don't allow myself to be confident that the sun will rise in the morning. After 2016, I am a jaded, gray-haired old woman. I have aged 40 years and all of them virginal because no one has been making any kind of, you knew I was gonna go there. No one has experienced real love in these 4 years, because how can you really? And look, it's very much, remember when 2018 happened and we were like voting in 2016, we were all little babies, and like 2018, we're all like, I'm here, I'm signing up. Same energy. There's no rose-colored glasses on. Look, it's Joe Biden, y'all, okay? It's decency versus death, and that is where we are. I'm feeling pretty confident, but again, I'm waiting for the twist ending, and I don't know when that's gonna come.
Yeah, what about you, Ben?
That's a terrifying way. You keep talking about the M. Night. Well, I forgot the final part of his name, but the Sixth Sense type of twist. I think I'm expecting it to start somewhere around 9 o'clock this evening. We're going to get some type of twist, and I think it's going to be something along the lines of getting reports from the field about the Proud Boys showing up, about the protests erupting because they think these mail-in ballots shouldn't be counted. Like they have. Roger Stone has been out of prison long enough to cause a Brooks Brother riot times 10, considering the resources they have now and the support that they have with the Proud Boys. The thing that gives me hope is that the majority of people have already voted, and so they're going to miss the opportunity to suppress the vote because a lot of people were expecting it. So that's the main thing I'm counting on.
Yeah, you know,
sure.
we have a lot that we're going to talk about, but I do want to zoom in on that for a little bit, because I admitted in the second hour of our coverage that my prediction for what the big October surprise was going to be did not actually come true. He did not announce the vaccine's done, we're shipping it out in a couple days, you don't have to worry about the pandemic. That didn't happen. And you're right, at this point, even if there is some sort of big surprise, there will be surprises, and it could influence some of the election day voting. It could, they're going to have their legal challenges and all that. But there was, other than Trump getting COVID, there was no real big October surprise. I mean, I guess they tried with Hunter Biden, but with all of the years of prep that they could have done, all of the money, all of the committed a-hole conservatives, they didn't really have much to shake things up in the last week or two. It's sort of weird, honestly, that there wasn't much more that they tried to do to really throw things off.
I mean, other than Borat and Giuliani's pants tuck, I mean, that was really the October surprise that I think no one needed. But you're right. I mean, it was interesting in that same segment with Anna this morning, I was watching, and you played a clip from Fox News where Trump is basically whining that Fox hasn't been giving him a fair shake. And in his tone of voice, you hear so much defeat, dare I say. And again, I don't want to, count the chickens before they hatch, but like, he sounds already like he's playing the blame game as to who is the reason that he wasn't reelected. And now he's already starting in with Fox News, and it's gonna roll on and continue from there. And of course, as Ben said, it's gonna get ugly in the streets and among his extremists, i.e. all of his supporters. But he himself, I think, is really setting this up for, you all cheated me, you turned your back on me, that's why I lost.
Yeah, John, I really think about that quite often, that they did not have anything that they could use this time around, because the entire Donald Trump gambit has run its course. They're trying to replay their greatest hits from 2016. It's like the quarterback who's trying to relive his glory days from 30 years ago. No one wants to hear it. Everyone has outgrown it except for Donald Trump. And I think what he's setting himself up for at this point is the ability to convince himself in his own mind that he was cheated, and that's enough for him, so he can go to Mar-a-Lago and say, they cheated me, but here I am, everyone still worship me, even though I'm not president anymore.
Yeah, I was thinking about it yesterday. Like, obviously there was so much that was done this year already to try to make it as hard as possible to vote for certain types of people. Not for everybody, but for certain types of people. They did so much with the post office and limiting the ballot drop boxes. The fact that, in addition to not giving people any aid in the last 7 months in terms of the pandemic, no aid to make sure that the election would be smooth or that votes would be delivered promptly or anything like that. They certainly did that, and there's Proud Boys at the polls. They're doing all of that stuff. But that said, I got that same impression from the Fox video, that this was sort of a resigned Trump that doesn't think he's got a great chance. And it's really, I think, weird when you think about it, that considering how dishonest these people are, how fundamentally, I'll use the word evil. I'm not a religious person, but I can identify it when I see it. That with all the money that they have, all the access they have, all that's on the line, that they don't seem to be doing more to mess with it. I mean, there's gonna be a ton, and we're gonna have the court cases and all that. There's some that are pending right now. They're still gonna try to get rid of some of those votes down in Texas, Pennsylvania, the votes that are gonna be counted after yesterday. There's a good chance they're gonna try to get rid of those too. So don't get me wrong, there's a lot that's happening, but I guess it's amazing that any elections are honestly adjudicated. But anyway, so I am curious about some of your predictions. I know that both of you filled out the TYT election pool, right?
Yeah, I left the hard ones blank, and then I had to be reminded by Brett that I had to do the whole thing, and then I had to do the whole thing.
Yeah, he gave you.
It was homework. Why are you guys giving me homework?
It really was
because
homework.
This is the Oscars game for political nerds. I always play the Oscars game. I don't know if the rest of you are as into that as I am, but so actually you mentioned how hard it was. Well, let's get into it, Francesca. Let's take a look at your pool and see if you can identify a few of the ones that you didn't initially want to fill in.
Did I draw profanity? I can't remember. Are you putting it at full screen?
We are, there it is.
All right, so electoral vote count. Are we going at one by one?
No, you don't have to go through the whole thing. I'm saying, but as you were looking it over, what are some of the ones that you found hardest to make a determination for?
Okay, hardest was popular vote margin. One, I don't want to know because we don't even calculate the winner via popular vote, so it's just painful, especially because it usually means a Democrat wins the popular vote, and somehow we still have the Electoral College, a vestige of slavery. Okay, cool, I'm done. But yeah, so that was hard because I was like percentage above. So I believe I looked at Hillary Clinton and how much she won the popular vote by in terms of this percentage, and I believe it was something like 2.5%, almost 3. So I was like, let's double that. I'm going with 4.4.
Okay.
That was hardest for me. QAnon Congress people, I was like, there are 19 running. Let's say, okay, the number 19 is that sorry, Q is like number 17. I think Q is 17 in the alphabet. I was trying to do the like galaxy brain thing that like QAnon people do, but I just decided 7. I think 7 of them will be in.
Are there?
Oh my God, 7.
Are there 19 running?
19 running.
Wow.
Oh my God. You know, I'm starting to think that we may still have problems in America even if Trump loses. Okay, now I noticed if we could go to yours for a bit, I have follow-up questions about 1 or 2 things. So I saw there that you believe that well, actually, I'm not sure if you believe Susan Collins is gonna win because you have both Susan Collins and her challenger checked.
Nuh-uh, that's not true. It's one or the other.
Well, which do you think it is? Because the graphic I'm looking at has both.
You're looking at an old, someone messed with my, this is fraud. This is a ballot fraud. I'm calling it. TYT is messing with my ballot. No, Susan Collins is gonna, oh no, you're right. I did it wrong. I was going by who I think is gonna lose. So, okay, here's the thing about me and forms. You
don't vote like this, do you? Did you vote for Trump?
No. But
I vote for the person who's going to lose.
It's great.
Okay, first of all, I got confused and I was just like, everyone who's gonna lose, I picked rather than who I thought would win.
Okay.
So just flip those. Go to Ben.
Who do you think's gonna win in that race, Francesca?
Oh,
You're not gonna Hogan Gidley me. Give me a straight answer.
Sarah Gideon is going to win. Susan Collins is going to lose. I got confused.
Okay, well then we're all there with you. Anyway, okay, let's push it to the side. Hey Ben, let's have a serious conversation here. As you were filling yours out, what were some of the tough calls for you?
Well, the call that I didn't want to make, which was how many QAnon Congress people would be there. And I just put yikes, man, because I mean, the thought that any of them are going to be there is a terrifying notion. And it really is, it does signify the fact that we've got a hell of a fight in this country, that people on that far extreme of the edges of rational thought can actually win and they will have political power. So I didn't want to answer that because I'm afraid I'm going to close my eyes and just see at the end of the night.
I love seeing that big bold yikes there. Yeah, that's definitely, after a little bit later on the hour, we're going to talk a little bit about the future. You know, we're going to project out there and the QAnon people are going to show up there. Now I noticed that both of you have Jamie Harrison beating Lindsey Graham. Are you relatively confident in that outcome?
That's more of a statement of faith. I'm hoping, I know the polling looks good. I know he has the fundraising, but it's still South Carolina. It's still Lindsey Graham. And I think actually, let me take that last one back. It's the fact that it's Lindsey Graham and people find him so repugnant that actually might give Jamie Harrison the boost he needs to win.
Francesca.
Yeah, I mean, he's been so spineless too. Like he's not even put a little bit of daylight between himself and Trump. And so I feel like, you know, there might be just by voter like apathy, Republican voters who might just leave that blank if they're not going to vote for Jamie Harrison. I think you could be looking at Republicans who are just leaving that and going to the next one, and just like, I don't even want to weigh in on this because he grosses me out, but I'm not going to necessarily vote Democrat. You
don't think that like his, as we've already said, his embrace of Trump as well as the hissy fit that he threw during the Kavanaugh hearings, like some Republicans seem to interpret that as strength. I personally don't see it, but you know, he really has stuck by Trump. He's gotten insulted quite a bit by Trump for his troubles, but yeah, I think on mine, if we could I think I gave that one to Lindsey Graham. I feel a little bit uncomfortable now. I feel like the odd man out, but I don't know, it's tough. Jamie Harrison does have a lot of money. I think that turnout is gonna be pretty good, but Lindsey Graham is very well known. And I think a lot of Republicans are gonna see him as a natural ally of Trump. I wonder.
And he also got a hug from Dianne Feinstein, which honestly gave him even
hug of death?
less strength.
Yeah. But also, I think the way Lindsey Graham grovels, right? I think people really pick up on that in one sentence in the primary, he wanted to sound like he was tough against Trump. And then he just kind of falls in line with the level of subservience that you almost don't get from anybody else in the Republican Party. If there is Lindsey Graham is the living embodiment of a bootlicker. And I think people in South Carolina pick up on that.
I think so. Now, in Texas, I think all three of us have John Cornyn winning. Yeah. I think that the polls have been pretty clear there. Now, the awkward position that puts me in is that both of you have John Cornyn winning, but you have Texas staying red. I somehow believe that Texas is gonna flip blue, but MJ Hagar is still gonna lose. It's seeming like a bad bet now at this point. What do you think about that?
I don't think that's a bad bet, but I do think back to Ben's sort of like, we're secreting our way, we're vision boarding our way to Texas flipping blue. I don't have Texas. I didn't count Texas as flipping blue for Biden. But look, I support it. I support you in your dreams.
Thank you.
John, I think what did I put? No, I put Texas is going to go with the Republicans. But this morning, I actually was with you the same way. I thought that if there's a possibility that Cornyn could win and Texas would go blue, because, well, I think we'll see. I don't know. Maybe I was just vision boarding too. Again, I'm like wishful thinking because I don't even know my rationale at this point.
Yeah, I'm really hoping for a big day of turnout and that they actually count. I believe that the mail-in ballots have been being counted and that we'll actually have some of that result today, which admittedly might give a false sense of Biden's chances of winning if those early votes are shifted dramatically from day of voting that'll come a little bit later on. And I don't believe that Texas is known for counting all too quickly, but we'll see. I personally, like I said an hour ago, I lived there for more than 5 years as I was going to grad school. I love the idea that Texas could change. It might not be time. Okay, so. Okay, I do, like I said, I do want to talk about the future. So why don't we take our first break? We'll come back with more with Ben Dixon and Francesca and try to see if we can get an idea of, based on how tonight goes, what it might mean for the two parties going forward after this. Hello and welcome back to TYT election coverage with Francesca Fiorentini and Benjamin Dixon. Before we launch back into the conversation, wanted to read a few of the comments that have been coming in. Kenny Cook says, y'all, I'm here in Texas, deep Trump country, Texas. I still think that we can legitimately win Texas. I hope.
Okay.
I hope.
So.
No, what are you gonna say?
I think they're gonna win Georgia too. I think there are gonna be a couple of surprises in the South. So, but to what extent, how big of a lead, all those kind of things, it really depends on the rest of the day's turnout.
Yeah, Georgia flipping would be it would be especially nice karma after all of what happened in 2018 to limit the voters, like the sickening level of voter suppression.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Ferret Queen says, I know someone on TYT plays harmonica really well. Can't remember who. I have a feeling that would be Brett. As Biden gains, can we have a sing-along of the times they are a-changin'? Yeah. Look, I don't want to be the Buzz Killington. The issue for me whenever I see something like that is that, the times are going to be changing, but they're going to be changing back to 2015. And that's much better than now. But it's not AOC in the White House. We're not there yet. We still have some work to do before we get there. Let me see, let me read a few more. This document has swelled. I'm trying to find, not sure that Twitch is being updated there, but Zombol says 2016 was because Hillary had 30 years of character assassination baggage dragging her down. Biden doesn't have that. This has been my calming mantra. Yeah, I think that they both have policy-based issues that people have. I think that the non-policy stuff has been significantly harder to get stick to Biden. for a number of reasons. One is familiarity in the population. There's also, misogyny and a number of other things. The policy stuff, I think they both have decades of policy issues, but yeah. Okay, now with that said, let's launch into our conversation where what I'm curious about, and I want your perspective on, is we have a couple of different situations that could happen tonight. Trump could and by tonight, I mean eventually, Trump could legitimately win. There's still a chance of that. It's not a great chance, but there's a chance. He could, in theory, gain the White House again without actually winning. He could lose fairly narrowly. There are electoral maps where Biden wins with a small gap, but then there's also a chance, even if it's a small one, of an absolute blowout. And we've been sort of alluding to that with Biden potentially winning Florida and Georgia and hell, maybe Texas, we'll see. What do you all think about the future of, let's start with the Republican Party, based on some of those different outcomes? Obviously, we don't have to delve into all of them, but what sorts of future Republican parties are we looking at based on what happens tonight?
Well, first of all, if Trump loses, let's just relish in, watching this, like just rubbernecking the hell out of the 300-car pileup that is the Republican Party that has been hitching their wagon to Trump. So once again, not trying to call this before it's over, but I'm gonna be doing that. I'm not gonna be one of those people who's like, I just wanna see a respectable Republican Party come back. No, you sit in this hell world that you made, and the stupidity of turning away from what was clearly a shifting demographic in the country that doesn't believe in demonizing immigrants, that doesn't believe in demonizing the LGBTQ community, like that is progressing, that wants to survive climate change, that wants real solutions, that wants healthcare. So sit in it and come back to me in like 6 to 10 months, if not more. That is if Trump loses. I don't know, Ben, what you think about that.
No, I agree with you. The number one thing I want to see Democrats do is make sure that every Republican that remains after Donald Trump loses is held accountable for Donald Trump's transgressions, because they're complicit with it. We still have 250,000 Americans, about 250,000 Americans who are dead because of COVID-19, and this is their guy. Yep. This is the guy that they're stomping on behalf of right now. So I do want to look at that pile up that is going to be Republicans trying to run as fast as they can away from Donald Trump, like rats trying to run away from a sinking ship. I want to see it, but I also want Democrats to stick it to them. Never let them forget that they supported the man who presided over 250,000 deaths.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think we can't let the Republican pundits and grifters who are gonna pretend that, hey, every once in a while I was critical of Trump, like we can't let them be forgotten. But then also there's gonna be a lot of Republican politicians. Marco Rubio is gonna pretend that he didn't stand on a stage yesterday and talk about how it's awesome that they tried to run that Biden bus off the road. Ted Cruz is gonna pretend that he didn't, like basically spend 4 years licking Trump's soles. So we can't let them forget that. What's interesting is that we've started off talking about the likelihood that once he loses, they're gonna be moving on. And I wonder, maybe you both disagree. My fear is that what's gonna happen is there's gonna be somebody who's going to try to pick up that MAGA movement and take it as their own, whether it's Tucker Carlson or a Tom Cotton.
Sure.
That they think that the MAGA heads will be looking for another strong man to pick up the MAGA torch, I guess.
And to be honest with you, I think you're right, and I don't think that this movement, this like just hate group at this point is going anywhere. I do think that whatever happens, if Democrats lose tonight, if Republicans lose, it will remake both parties. I'm already in favor of remaking the Democratic Party. I'm in favor of multiple parties that actually have a shot at winning in a parliamentary system like other Western democracies in this country, in this world. But looking at Republicans, I absolutely want to relish in the fact that they've hitched their horse to someone who is a racist bigot who wants us all to die. But I do think you're gonna see a split in the Republican Party. I think the Project Lincoln folks, if it's not just a media platform, I think it'll also be a party of McCain and sure, why not Reagan? Reagan was great. No, he wasn't, but they're gonna say he was great. And then there's gonna be the we drink bleach and are happy. Like there's gonna be the just very extreme, COVID improved my sex life. Like there's gonna be a lot of that. So I think we're gonna see the splitting of the Republican Party.
It burns in my loins and my lungs.
I don't know if I should follow that, but because just because of reasons. But the thing that I'm really looking forward to, Francesca, you pointed to. I'm so glad that you pointed to the fact that we need a parliamentarian system here in this country. Because can you just imagine if Donald Trump got COVID-19 as a first year issue, we would have had to deal with this malignantly incompetent moron for 4 years straight with COVID-19 without the ability to get rid of the executive with the vote of no confidence and a snap election. We got to change that. We have to fundamentally reform this country in that way.
So much,
I just want to jump and respond to that because what Ben is bringing up, I think every 4 years we're sort of thrust into staring our democracy right in the face. And I think 2016 taught us that we need to do that every single day. But right now there are pundits on MSNBC and CNN and of course Fox, but less so, who are lauding what a great democracy and our right to vote. Absolutely, let's exercise our right to vote within this fundamentally undemocratic system that was set up by misogynist slave owners that needs to be changed. The Senate is unrepresentative. The Electoral College is ridiculous. Okay, so remembering that we have so much work to do in expanding voting rights, expanding our democracy, not disenfranchising people. So it's always this double edge where you're like, I love, yay, everyone vote, but let's work toward a system that actually does represent all people. Otherwise, we're not the shining city on the hill. We've never been. We understand that now.
Yeah. So let me ask you both. Do you think that there is a scenario, and if so, what's the scenario that results in QAnon not becoming an inevitable part of whatever the party is going forward? That you're not, like now you have, Loeffler is campaigning with Marjorie Taylor Greene, okay? But they're still sort of, they don't want to openly say Q. They all go on Fox and they make references to it sort of obliquely. Is there a Republican Party that in 3 years, the candidates are not duking it out to prove that they're most down with Q at that point?
I think without Donald Trump, so I don't think that there's another Donald Trump on deck right now, right in the batter's box right now. Nobody is as talented as Donald Trump in walking the thin line of shamelessness and recklessness. And when we see people like Marco Rubio try, it fails spectacularly. I think Tom Cotton has the charisma of a Borg. He's not going to be able to pull it off. I mean, no, seriously. And then Tucker Carlson, like he's going to get eaten alive by people who make less than in a year than he makes in a night. So I don't think they're going to be successful at maintaining Trump's coalition with who they have right now. And without Trump, I don't think Q survives.
Interesting. I thought they would just dig for another one. Okay, so that's fine. What about the really obvious appeals to white supremacists effectively? Like, is there a Republican Party? Because remember, back after,
yes.
That what?
Sorry, but yes.
Yes to
white supremacy.
Yeah, so is there a Republican?
So much easier.
Yeah, what's that?
I'm going to cut you off, but the answer is a really short yes, because they can appeal to white supremacy more than they can maintain the madness of Q. Tom Cotton would be a wonderful replacement in terms of just appealing to white supremacy. Tucker Carlson would be a wonderful replacement as it pertains to replacing Donald Trump's white supremacy. But being able to do white supremacy, traditional and control traditional Republicans, while appealing to the insanity of QAnon, Donald Trump was the only person in that party right now that could do that.
Yeah, I think Don Jr.
Let's not forget. I mean, let's just not forget that Trump has been an incredibly ineffective fascist. I mean, he's done some things, evil things, right, and he's done just basic running of the country very, very wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm secretly happy that he was able to, that we had COVID. I mean, right? Like, I think we'd be in a different situation if there wasn't COVID. Obviously, I'm not saying I'm glad people died, not at all, but wow, it would have been, and it would be so much harder if he didn't have this pandemic and then bungle it so blatantly and so horribly to the point where his entire administration got infected with it, with this virus. But I think that Ben's right. I mean, look, 2016, the difference really was it was mask off, or as I say, hoods on for the Republican Party. It's like, seriously though, it was like, we're just gonna say it. Oh yeah, the assessment of 2012 is we should actually reach out to the Latino and the Black community. No, we're gonna go the opposite. Yeah. There's no more dog whistle. We've swallowed it now. We're just speaking in whistle, and we'll see how that continues. Like, is it going to be effective in the future? I mean, again, I don't know. And I think that actually really depends on a Biden administration and a progressive vision. Yes, I say progressive vision that can pull the Democratic Party and push it towards something that is actually unifying because it's actually making real change.
So that's a great transition because we're about to take a break. When we come back, let's talk about the future of the Democratic Party based on how today goes. So we're gonna take a quick break, but stick around. We'll be back after this. Welcome back, everyone, to hour 3 of TYT's big election day coverage, which will go until America has gone, basically. And we've got Francesca, we've got Ben. Very excited to have you here. Want to read just a few super chats before we launch back into it. My document is no longer being updated in the same way. So everybody who's sending in super chats, I really apologize anytime I can't read them all, which is every time. But I want you to know that if I don't read them on air, I still do read every one, and I appreciate all of your support, whether I can vocalize it or not. But a few I do want to read. Ron Frost said, big thanks to TDR and TYT for bringing Ben Dixon into my scope. Rising has been replaced by clickbaity thirst trap for my morning wake up show. Love those guys. They had me LOL this AM. Love all your co-hosts.
That's a good replacement. I just want to say that's a good replacement and everyone should do that.
Well, thank you, Francesca. Thank you to the super chat. We appreciate that. Trap Squad joining up with the Dragon Squad as always.
Nice. Jason Deck says Trump is the Borg queen. It all makes sense now. That's Ben's reference there. Only made my day, basically. Again, I don't even care if Biden wins now. I got that. So, and Roger LB, thank you for your "you are amazing." Really do appreciate that. Okay, so with the time we have remaining, let's talk a little bit about the future of the Democratic Party. If Biden loses, or if he wins, how significant is that to the future trajectory of the Democratic Party and how we get between now and the primary for 2024?
I don't know if I'm emotionally ready to discuss that because of what that means. I mean, I can't really register in my mind being stuck with Donald Trump for another 4 years, particularly because of COVID-19. But in terms of the direction of the Democratic Party, I hate to be this guy, but they're gonna have a lot of hell to pay. And they're gonna have a lot of hell to pay because they threw everything behind Joe Biden and risked all of this at one of the most critical times in American history. And so the Democratic Party is inevitably going to try to not change. But I think it's gonna be incumbent upon progressives to throw everything that we have to kick the bums out that lost to Donald Trump even after he killed 250,000 Americans.
Mm-hmm. And kick him out even if he wins. That's what I would say.
That's the secret I didn't want to say yet. But yeah, we're coming for you either way it goes.
Yeah, I mean, again, I agree, and I would say that no matter what happens, one party, the losing party, is going to be remade, and fully remade, and change and split apart. And I think the Democrats have already been trying to do that with the Democratic Party. Progressives have been trying to do that with the Democratic Party. And so I think it's really on us, like no matter how disappointed and disappointing a Biden administration is, no matter how many times they start pulling to the center, no matter how much Biden says, oh, the epiphany of Republicans is coming. Try to not let that phase what we want, what we need, what the Green New Deal that we need, the Medicare for all that we need, the economic justice, the racial justice we need. Eye on the prize, because all of that, we have to make that kind of rhetoric irrelevant by making sure that we are pressuring them from the left.
Yeah, and it looks like no matter what happens with the presidential race, we're about to get a couple more awesome progressives in Congress, at the very least, Jamal Bowman and Cory. We weren't able to get Cory Bush on the show earlier today, but we are gonna be lucky enough to get her hopefully in Congress in the very near future. And so that group that has let's keep it real, has been the only source of good news for years now. Yeah. The squad is about to be double the size probably. And a lot of expectations for those individuals, hope that they deliver. But it also means that we need to start thinking to the next set of primaries. Who is it? The House is getting more and more strong progressives. What are we doing for the future of the Democratic caucus in the Senate in terms of getting rid of some of these, quote unquote leaders that have failed us so thoroughly during the Trump years?
If we actually take a look at what has to be done just to go back to 2015, which is insufficient. We can't go back, we need to go forward. But in order to just undo the damage that Donald Trump has done in the last 4 years, we're gonna need a radical set of Democrats in the Senate as well as in the House of Representatives. They have to be willing to expand the court. They have to be willing to look at repealing the filibuster, working on repealing or doing away and abolishing the Electoral College. And if we don't have people who are willing to go up there and fight for the changes that we know need to be done, then we need to be prepared to start primarying them immediately. So if it's November 4th, we start asking these representatives and these senators where they stand on these critical issues. And if they can't answer the question, or they refuse to answer the question, or they answer in a way that we don't like, we need to be organizing right now to primary them.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a nice courtesy to ask some of them the question, but I feel like we can start prepping for the primaries on a few of them. I mean, a few of them aren't gonna be the next cycle, but over the next 2 cycles or so, like we saw, assuming that she even ran again, we know everything we need to know about Dianne Feinstein. I would argue we did last time. Dianne Feinstein has failed us so thoroughly on every issue that matters. Chuck Schumer is, I would say, better, but still, what has he done in 2020? How has he stood up to Donald Trump over the past few years? I think that the primary challenge, the groundwork needs to be laid already. We can ask him questions, we can see how he pretends to shift over the next couple of years, but we need to get him the hell out of there.
Yeah, and immediately, right, if Kamala does win, I believe that means that Governor Gavin Newsom would appoint a senator in the meantime. So we gotta be lobbying him on who that appointee is gonna be.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Any standout picks for that yet?
I mean, I don't know. Like anyone who's already a California congressperson.
I would personally, I would love to see a Ro Khanna, but I also
that's what I was gonna say. But then what happens to his seat?
That's true.
I don't get how all this works. So then does he nominate a thing? This is very like it's like a storybook of appointees. Does it just keep going until we like just put like a stand-in house cat and just like cool?
I don't think so. I'm not worried about that so much, but it would be a possibility for like a Barbara Lee or a Katie Porter. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I was gonna say Barbara Lee, but for the sake of longevity, I would look at someone like Katie Porter or Ro Khanna. I think they have all 3 of them have the progressiveness that's necessary to actually implement radical changes. And by radical, I mean just healthy changes to preserve America. We're not gonna survive more electoral college victories and a popular vote failure if we don't get rid of that system. So I think either of those 3 would do a great job.
Yeah.
Now, we only have a few more minutes left in the hour, so I want to end on a scary note. So let's say that Biden wins, okay? And we're looking to 4 years of Biden in charge, understanding that he is going to enter office with a pandemic that is either going to be as bad as it is today or worse. The economic damage of that is going to continue. How worried are you about the possibility that the Senate doesn't flip even if Biden wins, that we could still have Mitch McConnell, effectively blocking everything, I suppose, if he wants to, up to and including Supreme Court justices?
I'm worried, but I would hope that they eventually have to play ball. Like they have to play ball on a new stimulus package that isn't just for the ultra wealthy. Like y'all already got all your tax breaks. Like what else is there? You can't take it with you. Unless you know something I don't, unless the space station has been built and for the 1%, in which case I've always said this, just go. But it is very scary. And in that case, I worry that that epiphany that Biden loves to talk about won't really be an epiphany. It'll be what it usually is, which is Democrats capitulating to the right, and trying to apologize for our win. And that's really why Biden needs to win in a landslide, right? So there is a mandate. So there is a resounding, we need this government. You guys have been dropping the ball, and not everyone is an oligarch. Not everyone has the money you have.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a terrifying scenario that Mitch McConnell could still be in power, but at the same time, that at least stops the hemorrhaging, and that stops, if we have to put a hold on nominating justices to the Supreme Court versus actually getting more of Donald Trump's picks, I would take the hold, right? That's at least a consolation prize in the ability to stop Donald Trump from making it a complete conservative bench.
Yeah, imagine if. And the thing is, like, they're gonna go immediately back to, you don't get Supreme Court justices. 3 years before an election, shouldn't we let the people weigh in? Is gonna be, it doesn't matter. Hypocrisy doesn't matter. It just doesn't, unfortunately.
It's part of their toolkit.
Yeah, it's just baked in.
It absolutely is part of their toolkit.
There used to be this idea that hypothetically you could be shamed in front of your voters, but those voters understand that they want power, and these Republicans are they're giving them a version of what they think they need. Not stimulus or anything.
But I think they've seen it come back to bite them in the butt. I mean, look at 2018 and the town halls when it was so clear that. I mean, and this is the one thing that I don't think Democrats did. I think voters did, and I think grassroots organizers did, and people who are just like, yes, I need the ACA to live and to survive. Republicans were all on the repeal ACA train, and they got stymied because they went back to their districts and they were getting hammered for it. I hope we see that in the polls today, and I hope we continue to see that as Democrats and continue to put issues out in front, and specifically healthcare and the economy, and watch how Republicans just melt on those two issues time and time again when when it actually comes down to what people want.
Yeah. Well, Francesca, Ben, thank you so much for joining me for this hour. What are your plans for the rest of this big day?
Well, I'm here for another hour or so, and then tonight I'll be doing some coverage on my channel over on YouTube. So awesome. I'm in it for the long run here.
Awesome, sounds good.
Yeah, Ben and I are just staying.
You're sticking around.
We're just gonna be here. You guys are just gonna camera on, and then I reanimate. I'm like, hello, could I have a snack now? This is our life. Yeah, we'll be back with JR in a little bit, and then I'll be on the Bitchuation Room podcast at 8:00 Pacific tonight, talking all about it.
Sounds good. Okay. If Biden wins Florida, we'll give you a snack. But anyway, so stick around. Francesca and Ben, and I believe JR are gonna be here after this.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.